Hey guys, and welcome back. Let me start off by saying that this episode was amazing, one of my favorites this season. Still, episode 9 would be my favorite this season, but nonetheless, this is most definitely one of my favorites. And watching from the ashes, the 11th episode of the 6th season of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a few thoughts kept coming to my mind. Number 1, there is the fact that this series has become so rich, they don't even need to reference the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they could just reference events on past seasons. And those events are ones that we all remember, big ones, huge ones, and ones that left some kind of footprint in our memory. But number 2, the second thing I kept thinking from the moment the episode started, the way Daisy kept arguing with May, being so cruel to her, being so cruel to Coulson as well, Sarge that is, killing him that one time when he was pretty much at his lowest point, that pretty much made me think, okay, you know what, the joke's on you. And I was thinking of those couple of scenes that we did watch on both the SDCC trailer and the Season 6 trailer. The hug, and the moment that he pretty much tells her, "You've always been capable of so much," and she had that look on her face. And we did get both scenes on this episode, and they were both amazing. Finally though, there is number 3, which is the fact that we did hear both words, Endgame and Blip, and when you think about these two words, you start thinking Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home. So the question over here is, are they trying to send us a message, let us know that they did possibly know at this point, shooting or filming this episode about Avengers Endgame and the Blip, and that they're kind of promising that we are going to get something of the sort in the future of the series, like on Season 7. With that being said though, let's start breaking down this episode bit for bit and piece for piece. So the first thing that we see at the beginning of the episode is Mac and Yo-Yo. They're still alive. We did know that they are still alive. The gravitonium device with Izel, that's always a reference to Season 5. The events of Season 5 trying to stop the fear dimension. So yeah, they still contain the energy of the monoliths. We do know that. But we've got Mac possessed by Izel trying to get the temple information out of Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo doesn't know about it, but she does give up the name of Benson, and that's exactly where she forces them into contacting Benson and bringing him on board. Now in the meanwhile, and back in the S.H.I.E.L.D. base, we've got Fitzsimmons working on a way to prevent Izel from overpowering them again, the way they work together. I loved watching that. We haven't watched that kind of thing in a while. Remember, the end of Season 5, the final arcs of Season 5, we had them kind of a little bit separated. With the whole Ada situation, with the whole framework situation, with the whole Fitz coming out of the framework, kind of confused. Simmons kind of confused as well about what went down in the framework. They weren't working that closely. Then there was the whole situation with Season 5, an Earth that's about to break apart, that they were trying to prevent the extinction level event. The Fitz over there as well was a lot more serious, a lot more cranky, and this one is a lot more geeky and nerdy, like Fitz used to be on the first couple of seasons of the series, along with Simmons. So yeah, they might not be as naive as they used to be on the very first couple of seasons, but that was definitely a callback to all the nerdiness and geekiness that they had in them. But we've also got our first spoken reference on this episode, a body being inhibited by some being. We've seen that before with Robbie Reyes. So yeah, that's our one and only Ghost Rider reference on this episode, but it's the third this season so far. We've got Sarge talking about his head going up in flames because, he is Coulson, and Coulson used to be a Ghost Rider for a very short period. We've got Fitz on last week's episode mentioning the Ghost Rider, like we knew someone like this before, the Ghost Rider. And then on this week's episode, we've got a flat-out reference to Robbie Reyes. I'd say, based on the repeated mentions, that the possibility that we end up seeing the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider by the end of the season, that's pretty significant at this moment. So I'm really hoping that on next week's 2-hour finale, we do get him as a surprise guest star. But we've got May though interrogating Sarge, talking to him, trying to see if he remembers anything about them, like if he's actually Coulson. She does believe he is Coulson, we do know that. We've been talking about that since the beginning of the season. The only thing is, Daisy kind of objects to this line of questioning. So it's that scene that we did watch on the Season 6 trailer. We do see it on this episode. The man in there is not the man that you loved. But yeah though, on this scene we do see the first time he kind of uses his powers unwillingly. He does not really plan it, but he does end up using them. He's got super strength it seems, and he does bring about that dent to that metal table, the size and shape of the palm of his hand. That's most definitely a new way to fingerprinting. Now circling back to the Zephyr, we've got Marcus Benson being brought upon the Zephyr. Izel is in the body of Mac trying to get information out of him. We've got a Keller reference, Benson stating he's being proven right again, all about the ley lines and whatnot. But Yoya though is a smart girl, stating that she would deliver the message to Keller, and Benson knows that Keller is dead, so that's how she signals him. But it also leads to Izel using the orb with the energy from the monoliths in order to open up the fear dimension, in a manner of speaking, because she does explain why it is a fear dimension. It's not really that, it's more about the creation monolith, the fact that humans tend to create their own fears. That's what she explains over there. This thing is a creation monolith, this is not a fear dimension, this is not a fear monolith, but you guys, you just imagine the worst things that could happen to you, the things that scare you the most or that you fear losing the most, and that's what you create when you're faced by said monolith or the energy out of said monolith. Now the biggest fear for Marcus Benson was the fear of losing Thomas again, or in this case over and over again, and Izel kinda uses that, kills this version of Thomas that makes an appearance there, and then threatens him, okay, you know what, if you don't help me, don't give me the coordinates to the temple that I want to get to, then hey, I'm gonna kill this guy over and over again. But on another note though, and while I'm at it over here, I've gotta say, this series knows how to create magnificent female villains. I mean, think about it, you've got Reina on Season 1, you've got Reina early on Season 2, you've got Jiaying on Season 2, and you've got Ada on Season 4. I mean, the only time they kind of went off a little bit was with Ruby, and that was not because of the writing, but because of the actress. General Hale was quite the decent villain there. And now it's Season 6, and you've got a very well-written villain and a very well-acted villain in Izel. Now, one last thing about the Zephyr plot on this episode, before I circle back to S.H.I.E.L.D. and then move on towards the end to the bit about Izel, Mac, and Yo-Yo in the temple, is that even though the cloaking technology of the Zephyr makes it untraceable even to Team S.H.I.E.L.D., Mac does manage to send a message, dropping the dampening cell out of the Zephyr in order for Benson to deliver said message to give Team S.H.I.E.L.D. the coordinates of the temple that Izel is heading for. But circling back though to the S.H.I.E.L.D. base, we've got that statement, the other thing inside you. I think that's a reference to Episode 5. Now Episode 5 is the first time we've ever got to know something about Sarge, even though it was not the full truth, it was not the full revelation of what's going on over here, but nonetheless, it was the first episode that May had that conversation, that long one with Sarge. The episode was also titled The Other Thing. The other thing over there was a reference to the other thing, all about the conversation about Coulson that Sarge had with May. Was it this, or was it the other thing? This time it is reversed. Sarge is the one being asked about the other thing within him. Now Daisy's obviously trying to get him to talk, she's trying to provoke him, but instead he kind of provokes her. She's being cruel to him, emotionally torturing him, and he's being cruel to her, emotionally torturing her, knowing what Coulson meant to her. He does remember her, he does remember how much she meant to Coulson, so he's kind of using that over there, and he's kind of feeling it a little bit as well. But in the meanwhile though, we get to know that Sarge wasn't lying. The sword is basically capable of killing Izel because it's like a more complicated, a more advanced version, and a bigger one at that, of the daggers used to kill the Shrikes. On the other hand, Daisy, who's pretty angry, who's already stormed out of Sarge's holding cell, is pretty much giving orders in Mac's absence, playing director like she's second in command in Mac's absence, even though we do know that May is second in command. I most definitely don't like that color on her. I mean, she is kind of annoying as a leader there. So yeah, I kind of take what I said back, what I said last week about Daisy being more ready now than ever to be director. But Simmons though has got the courage to confront her like you do this every time you're faced with a huge problem. And that's basically where we get all the references, heading to space at the end of last season. That's pretty much about confronting the death of Coulson. There's also a reference to Season 2 Daisy running off when she got her powers. And there's finally a reference to late Season 3 Daisy, early Season 4 Daisy, running off after Lincoln died. But obviously though, I was kind of wrong and kind of right about the next bit I'm about to talk about over here. The letter that Coulson left Daisy, the one that he mentioned at the end of last season, it does seem like it was a letter about him being proud of her, like he did tell her on the finale of last season. That's also a reference, by the way, to the finale of last season, that letter. So I was wrong about it having answers, I was wrong about it having clues to this Sarge situation. But on the other hand, it seemed I was right on Daisy opening it for the very first time, reading it for the very first time, like she was doing some kind of avoidance. The words of Simmons is what got her to read it. The letter was one other thing that Daisy was running from, because reading it kind of means admitting that Coulson is dead. Now she goes back in, starts talking to Sarge. She snaps his head, kills him, temporarily of course, something that I thought was quite cruel. I mean, the man is at his lowest, he's feeling so bad. He's conflicted between the memories that he's currently remembering, you know, the Coulson memories, the memories that he thought he had, the Sarge memories, and of course the fact that Izel might be right, he might be Pachacuti. I mean, it's quite sad. He does see Daisy clearly in his memories, but he believes he's nothing, that he's not Coulson, that he's not the Rage either, and that nothing of all of this belongs to him. It's an emotional moment for this guy, and she just snaps his neck. I mean, even Simmons makes a comment over there, like she does see that Daisy is being an ass over there. I just wanted you to go in and talk to him, not to snap the guy's neck, not to kill him. I did love as well that Simmons is also a believer at some point. After she hears all of this, you gotta start being a believer a little bit.
What if there's still a way to save what's left of Coulson?
On another note though, I see Gregg now and I start thinking of Sean Bean, the one guy that dies on everything that he appears on. I mean, how many times has Gregg died since he started appearing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? You've got his death on the Avengers, you've got his death at the end of Season 5, you've even got the death of LMD Coulson at the hands of LMD May, you know, blowing up the playground on Season 4, and you've got 2 deaths this season, one at the end of Episode 9 and one on this week's episode. That's a total of 5 deaths so far. But okay, May is the only one that understands what Daisy is trying to do over there. No matter how emotionless and cruel, she's trying to wake up what's within Sarge. Sarge, though, this time around does seem to start remembering more about Daisy, more about May, and more about who he really is. You know, Pachacuti, the person occupying this body. But he's still in control. He doesn't want to harm Daisy until she pushes him so far, so he knocks her back. He does try to escape. He wants to kill himself. Daisy goes for the sword, grabs it, drags it behind her, going for Sarge, planning on killing Sarge if she could not capture him, stop him, and bring him back. And when she finds him, he goes, "You wanted to wake me up. I'm awake. This is what I am. Call me what you want. It doesn't make any difference." Now Sarge asks her to kill him. The memories are getting stronger. He calls her Sky. "Kill me, Sky." That's a reference to Season 1 and early Season 2 Daisy. It's all coming back to me, the pain, the memories. End it. You've always been capable of more than you think. Now do it. Do it. He's begging her to kill him. But yeah though, that's where we get the 2 scenes. The one out of the San Diego Comic-Con trailer and the one out of the Season 6 trailer. The hesitation to kill the guy, the seeing through her anger to realize that this guy has bits of Coulson in him. And that's also when we get the hug. Now I gotta say, I love how Deke shuts his grandparents up, like shut up, let me think for a moment, and then he comes up with it, you know, realizes how they could defeat Izel. Resonant frequencies, that's how her powers work, they need to disrupt her harmonic frequency. Now talking with Deke about a belt buckle kinda reminds us with the belt buckle with the gravitonium out of Season 5, Deke's belt buckle, so yeah, that's probably a little bit of a subtle reference. Benson does report to S.H.I.E.L.D. about what happened and where they're headed, so that's all about the success of Mac and Yo-Yo's plan. We've got May and Daisy talking. I would have loved an in your face, I was right, I told you so, anything of the sort out of May. Daisy's starting to believe more in this guy. He's looking for somewhere to belong. All Coulson wanted was for us to take care of each other, and Daisy does believe there. If they do it for him, he's gonna do the same for them. But here comes the final moments of this episode because Izel is in the temple, she's firing up the orb. The temple was built from the same stone as the monolith. She believes they're gonna resonate in harmony in order to open a gateway to her home. I did love the moment where Yo-Yo told her not to tell them all about her bad guy plans. I mean, that was quite funny. It always happens before the bad guy dies. That's pretty much a trope of a lot of TV series and movies out there. Kind of interesting that she tells her that, and that we know that by the end of next week's episode, Izel is either going to be in custody, sent back to her home world, or actually dead. But yeah though, Izel decides to bring about their biggest fear. I don't think their biggest fear over here is about losing Flint or Flint being killed. I think their biggest fear over here is about the one person who could bring the monoliths back together, and that's pretty much Flint. However though, there's a crazier theory, because what if this Flint is not a creation of the creation monolith, but rather he's brought about by the energy from the time monolith. Gonna be talking about that in detail on my theory video this week. But yeah though, not gonna waste time on this video because we're running out of time. Gonna talk about the Stinger, and here come the Chronicoms. Altara wants to go back in time, save Chronica 2. Malachi on the other hand goes all ass on her, wants to establish Chronica 3, kills Altara, but not before he makes it clear that he also plans on getting back Chronica 2. Chronica 3 is all about strengthening Chronica 2 when it comes back. So welcome guys to what I believe is the introduction to the villains of the 7th and final season of the series. On that front though, here are 2 quick points. I think they're going to use time travel in order to get Chronica 3. I think that Chronica 3 is probably going to be Earth. And I'm going to explain more about that on my theory video this week because this video is already running longer than the usual review videos of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But that though, having been said, my work here is done, so let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode, how you think the finale is going to break down, and don't forget to tune in to my videos, my breakdown of the trailer of the finale of the season, along with the revisiting of the synopsis of the 2 episodes, as well as my theory video and my final predictions video for the finale of the season. Let me know as well if you did like this video by dropping it a much appreciated like, subscribing to this channel, and make sure while you're at it to enable notifications in order to get updates whenever I upload a new video, publish a new community post, or start a new live stream. But until the next time that you tune in for another one of my videos, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or otherwise, thank you so much for tuning into this one, and have a great day.